Hello and welcome to the Three-Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. The boys are back again for a weekly foray into another conference. Hooray. Big 12. That's the topic of this week. The Big 12 year in review is what we're calling this episode. The penultimate conference that we have to discuss. Next week will be SEC. We're going to look back at the wonderful Big 12, the mighty Big 12, hit you with some Roots Roundup as usual, the news and notes section, and cap off the episode with a little bit of reviews per our standard. Jimothy Root, hello, how are you? You had a nice workout this morning, I assume?
Yeah, Kai, love it. I've been doing this 5:55 a.m. Fridays.
Oof.
Get really into the world.
Why is it not like a 6?
Well,
Why is it 5:55?
I'm not entirely sure. They do a 7 o'clock after, so I think it's to stagger
Well,
and clean the
nice.
place. But you could go 6 and 7:05. It doesn't totally make sense. But Matt, it's more convenient timing for this podcast,
That's
and
important.
that's what we like. The world revolves around the three-man weave, Matthias.
It does. And the quicker the rest of the world figures that out, the better we'll all be. Yeah, it sounds like kind of corporate thing where you end meetings 5 minutes early to let people clear out and
boy.
get the conference room. A tradition I do not miss.
I'm going to give you 5 minutes back of your day. Oh, thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Yeah, I'm gonna really enjoy that 5.
Really maximize those 5 minutes.
We're a college basketball podcast, and we'll talk about college basketball soon. Before, 3MW_CBB is where you can find us on Twitter, Instagram, the socials, if you will. Trilly Donovan, have you heard of him? He's anonymous, but he knows everything. He knows sources. We have a Discord partnership with him. It's great. It's called Burner Ball. The link is in the description to the video that is currently going on YouTube right this second, and also in the podcast description. Do check it out. $6 per month, and also some really cool announcements coming up for that teaser. Wink, wink. And then, of course, we will plug a couple things coming up in that Discord, especially AMAs, the interviews we're doing with college basketball folks. We had Fran and Matt Fraschilla on. We had Sam Vecini on to talk a little draft. And in the future, getting a couple coaches in the pipeline. Matthew, Andy Toole, your dude, perhaps Richie Riley, and, of course, Bart Torvik, the Ken Palm of the Barts, coming on
Man
later.
of the people. Yeah.
Yes, the man of the people. I am very excited for all three of those. Matt, good job getting Toole.
I'm still working the hotlines, trying to get more on board. Yeah, if anyone out there listening, and we should probably announce this in the Discord, has connections to coaches that we don't have, and that you think they'd be willing to come on and engage directly with you, the member subscriber, let us know. We'd love to set that up. I think the more the merrier, especially during this June, July sort of lullish period to tide us over until previews, boom,
Yes, sir.
breakdowns, boom.
One
So,
other plug for right now in the Discord is Arman Jovic is hammering out.
I know, I'm trying to play
international
catch
intel.
up there.
Not just scouting, and he's going to release his rankings, but he's given insight on who's chasing who in recruiting, whether he thinks they're going to be eligible, whether he thinks guys are going to come over at all. And that's kind of the hot board right now is, portals kind of died down, but a lot of teams still need pieces, Kai, and they are chasing them in the international ranks. And I have spent most of the last week really familiarizing myself with those guys. And I actually feel kind of comfortable with that market now. And Arman is a big part of that. So I encourage people to get in the Discord and get intel there as well.
It's the
Yeah,
next
this year
wave.
it's going to be crazy. It is the next wave. You guys are right. So it's very true.
Next wave, we have downplayed impact of international guys in the past.
I know we changed so quickly.
I
from
still
2
will.
years. It's like,
I still
nah.
will downplay it for the most part, to be honest. But there are more and more impactful guys coming over, especially this season. Especially with the fifth year going away this year, the talent across the board a little bit down in college basketball. As we kind of set up for our previews here, I've been taking notes on this very Big 12. It's interesting seeing where talent is right now across the spectrum. I'd say it's a pretty sharp drop-off after a certain number, but I won't spoil our top 50 that we're voting on right now. That's for later, though. Right now, we're going to do the Big 12. Let's first get into Roots Roundup and talk a little news and notes, get you caught up on the college basketball world. Take it away, Jim.
Let's do it. Let's talk news and notes. The trains are honking this morning. I don't know if you guys heard that. It is really loud for me, but maybe the microphone didn't pick it up. Yes, news and notes, college basketball. But first, Maddie, a shout out to our off-season Bible and in-season Bible, really. CBB Analytics, just a wealth of college basketball information.
Of course, Jim, cbbanalytics.com, looking at just a specific use case, one of a million probably out there, on-off for Big 12 players last year, as I was kind of breaking down some of the losses, some of the turnover this season. Can you name the most impactful player to his team last season? In the Big 12, Kai,
in the
to
Big
you.
12, Tugler.
Close. Jim, point guard.
Milos Uzan.
Second, the winner is Javon Small. Very good
Ah,
guesses, both of you, though.
is that 2 years running,
like
by the way?
10, a whole 10 points per possession higher than Los. I just think how good, important he was to that team. Crazy. Anyway, that among other things you can find when you dive into CB analytics. We talk about how a lot of these D2, D3 up transfers look at guys year to year, how they're going to project next season, even some proprietary statistics coming out on player ratings as well. Make sure you sign up today, team level, player level, as we kind of gear up for our top 100 player rankings, by the way. That'll be coming down the pike as well. Discord subscribers, members, we'll be trying to spruce those up with some CB analytics shot charts and some statistical breakdowns of those dudes potentially. So, all the more reason to sign up today. Please use our promo code WEAVE, WEAVE, get you $40 off a subscription. And Coach is interested in, if you don't already have access, I don't know why, but if you would like it, contact us. We'll get you set up with the pro tier, Jim.
Love that, Matthew. Yeah, it's been invaluable as we go through rankings, some of these look backs. It's a terrific resource, so highly encourage it. Okay, key headlines. Utah Valley is leaving the WAC for the Big West next year. And Kai, yeah, you wrote the WAC is on its last legs. It's tough. I believe Kevin Sweeney said in the Discord they're going to be down to 5 teams, which is not enough for an automatic bid to the NCAA tournament. It's got Great West feelings. Kai, do you remember the classic Great West conference that was kind of a faux deal for a couple of years?
Yeah, sure. It sucks. This was the WAC was awesome last couple of years. It got up to 13 teams and then slowly dissipated. I don't know behind the scenes really. I know football is a big driver here. Teams like Utah Valley that don't have football are getting out of the WAC. But unfortunate. I really enjoyed the WAC the last couple seasons.
Matt, I did not expect the Big West to outmuscle the WAC. It just seemed like Big West is going to be its little California team, stay in its niche, stay in its lane, and the WAC was the one kind of far-reaching, grabbing teams from up to Seattle, down to Tarleton and Texas, all over the place, and maybe that spread out geographical footprint ended up being too big of a problem.
I think they just got caught in the middle, basically, geographically. I'm sure there's a few better reasons behind the scenes as to why, but yeah, it seems like it just didn't have an identity. I did think they had some innovate. I know they were one of the first to do the for the seeding for the tournament with the what was that analytic formula, which I thought innovative thinking, maybe good leadership, more likely to last, but obviously there are bigger forces at play here, Mr. McKeon.
Indeed. Yeah, they have good like a good digital presence too. I do think, Matt, I agree. The leadership is pretty solid. It just unfortunately didn't work out. I mean, CUSA swiped New Mexico State and Sam Houston State. That seemed like could be beneficial members, and alas, here we are. We'll see what happens with.
Wonder how our guy Mike O'Donnell's. I know he's probably bummed. He's done some good WAC work. He does the annual WAC preview show on ESPN. That I think they host that, which is pretty cool.
Yeah,
so we'll miss it.
And yeah, the WAC tournament is always fun. That late night from Vegas.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, we're not gonna. Well, we'll see what happens with that. I guess I won't condemn it to death quite yet. But coaching news. Baylor, we've talked about the brain drain on their staff a little bit. We actually did on the preseason Big 12 episode, Kai. They added Ron Sanchez, former interim coach at Virginia, the coach at Charlotte for a few years, a Tony Bennett disciple. And I saw a lot of excitement in the Discord about, he'll fix the defense. I'm going to pump the brakes there because his Charlotte defenses weren't good, and they didn't have the same exact pack line principles as the Tony Bennett one. I think this is a solid hire because good assistant, but I'm not going to automatically be like, defense is solved. Baylor's back defensively after 4 years of down, just badness.
Yeah, he's tried to emulate the Tony Bennett pack line, defensive, hard, rim, can't get to the rim, can't get in the paint philosophy. It has not worked in practice. However, maybe as an assistant coach, he fares better. I think it's a good hire. Why not?
Yeah, he's knowledgeable, experienced. It's fine.
It's fine.
The other also relevant to this Big 12 episode, bit of news in the coaching world, a massive extension for BYU's Kevin Young. Going to keep him there for a while. Pretty sure he leveraged the Phoenix Suns job opening as a former Phoenix Suns assistant. He was the highest paid assistant in the NBA. So I'm sure it just was like, hey, pay me to make sure I don't leave. And there he is. back in the. I joked in the Discord that it was like, oh, if it was all Nick's interests, and somebody was immediately like, no, it was the Suns. I was like, yes, this is why there are smarter people that pay more attention to the NBA than me. But Young had a great first year at BYU, which we'll discuss, and obviously has a relatively loaded roster headed to next year, and they have plenty of money. So Young maintaining his stance in charge in Provo. Recruiting news, guys. We typically keep it to top 100 recruits for declaring their intentions, their commitments, but just want to give a quick shout out to Dave Smart and Pacific, Matthew, team we thought would be a little better last year, but they picked up a four-star recruit, Jayon Pitt, just outside the top 100. He was an Arizona State commit, kind of a very active power forward. I looked into him just because I was so intrigued that Pacific got him. Hey, maybe the Tigers are going to be that kind of post-hype sleeper after we got too excited in year one of Dave Smart.
Yeah, so I was expecting more of the Canadian dudes coming to the fold, but he actually is like, it's a pretty heavy US roster. Actually, there's some decent talent there next year. I'd like him to be good. Pacific's a fun team. They're good. The WCC trash pile teams just kind of make that league. That's what brings that league down relative to the top end peers. So, that's why Gonzaga wins every game at 25 in that conference.
Hey, there's another Brazdakis coming, Matthew. So that's exciting. They did get one Canadian piece.
Oh, he's from Carleton. Nice.
Yep. Don't
Nice.
don't get too worried. And he's Iggy's brother. So for those of you
Okay.
who remember Iggy at Michigan, yes, that is his sibling. That's it for recruiting news. Transfers. Again, I think after the SEC look back, we'll do a transfer portal winners and losers. I know the Field of 68 just put out a winners and losers list and really pissed off the people that got called losers. That's okay. We're going to do the same thing and really piss some people off too. So yeah, that's going to be fun, Kai. Yes. We'll have to decide if it's net transfer activity or, based on expectations, whatever. We'll come up with a little self-serving rubric for ourselves and see what happens with the fans there. But yes, transfers we'll discuss a little further down the line. And it kind of ties in with previews and state of the programs. So you're getting a small sense of it as we go through these look back year in reviews. And in other random news and notes, we've got some fun home and home scheduling announcements. Kind of a slower news week for college basketball, but Illinois and Texas Tech, two coaches we like a lot, two creative roster builders. I think that's going to be a fun one. Lubbock and Champaign. And then UConn and Kansas. Love to see this. UConn went to Kansas, went to Lawrence 2 years ago when Steph Castle was out and injured, and Kansas barely pulled off that win. But man, Lawrence to Storrs/Hartford. I'm not sure where they're going to play the games. If it's going to be Excel or on campus, but that's a really fun one. And we just highly encourage, Kai, these home and homes relative to just doing the neutral site. I love when games are on campus.
I totally agree. So much better atmosphere. The broadcast is better. Also, it behooves the teams on the road to stack up this more impressive win for your resume. Or heck, not a bad loss, right? If you go to Kansas and lose at Kansas, guess what? It doesn't matter for your resume. You're going to be just fine. And it serves the college basketball fandom. So I'm really, really big fan of all of these matchups.
It's for the fans. That's why it's a good thing. Yeah. The neutral thing makes it more and more feel like a professional sport, which I know we effectively are at this point. But this kind of is sort of sustains the purity of our great game.
Yeah, it's one of the things that makes college basketball unique and special and fun and stands out to fans. So yeah, I'm glad that some coaches are leaning into this. As much guff as we give Hurley, he is one of the good bastions of scheduling that has really done a nice job with this and tried to keep fun games going. So I credit him for that. Credit John Shire, Nate Oates. A lot of coaches have been starting to maybe wisen up to this, or just maybe it's a younger crew that's leaning into it. We love to see it. Kai, that's it. Short Roots Roundup today. Lots of Big 12 teams to discuss. 16, in fact, in the Big 12. Yes. That's your numbers.
Yes.
But let's do it, Kai. Let's get to it.
Let's talk Big 16. A quick overview of last year. Just the third best league in KenPom. Oh no. The newbies, the new teams that joined the league, kind of held it down. The Big 12 hasn't really had a quote-unquote bottom in the past couple seasons, and it did last year. Colorado and Arizona State, both bottom two teams in this league. Utah was number 10. At least Arizona was good. So they got one Pac-12 team that did very well, made the tournament. 7 teams in total made the tournament from the Big 12. They had, of course, the title appearance from Houston. And the seeds were strong. It was 1, 3, 3, 4, 6, 7, 9. Very top heavy last season for Big 12. West Virginia hosed. Yes, I do think so. I think many people expected them to be in the tournament. The Tucker DeVries injury, of course, kind of hurt them. That was the excuse at least the committee gave. And of course, Jim, the committee guy was from North Carolina.
That was so lame. Like, oh, Tucker DeVries is out. Well, they won like 2 of their Q1 games without Tucker DeVries. That it was just complete backing into an explanation. I would have liked to see them get in, Kai, because then our guesses of 9 teams in the tournament would have been more accurate because that would have made 8. I would have felt a little bit better about that. But yeah, that was one of the bigger shaft jobs that I think people just kind of glossed over because I think deep down everybody knew West Virginia wasn't that good, but they deserved to be in, and I think that mattered.
Just beat Colorado. And when you get up 15 points in the conference tournament, just go ahead and win that game. Just go ahead and close out that young, that pesky point. Buff bunch, Kai Boulder.
17-1 run in the final 10 minutes.
But Kai, I'm with you. Just this league had just a little too much dead weight last year. A lot of zombie teams. Like Oklahoma State was a bad team. Like there's just some sort of uninspiring teams that I think pillaged the top to bottom depth that we'd come to love. But that's sort of what you expect when you add teams to your league. So,
but shockingly, nobody fell outside the top 100.
Yeah, I know they all just kind of stuck
right inside. Yeah,
that is an incredible stat. 16-team league, no one outside the top 100 in KenPom. 6 top 25 teams, 4 top 15. Fantastic. On the preseason pod, we thought it'd be the best league again in the country. We had a debate, I think, with the SEC and the Big 12. So hey, not too bad, guys. Okay, give ourselves a passing grade on that one. Let's recap the teams. Let's go down in standings order, and we'll throw in a couple nuggets from the podcast in the preseason. Starting with Houston, what can you really say about the Cougars that hasn't been said already? They made the national title game last year. They probably should have won the whole thing. I think they are up to a 90% win probability on KenPom in that game against Florida. We hyped Houston to the moon, of course, in the preseason. I thought they'd be one of the best preseason teams ever. I was shocked they weren't number 1 in the AP poll. Jim, me, okay, I'm just going to just me and Jim on this one, actually, Matthew, said they were a lock to be a top 2 defensive team. They were going to be great on defense. Matt, however, said there was a chance that they weren't going to be a top 5 team defensively.
Yeah, I think he said not even top 5
overall
team in general.
Yes.
And we ended up talking him into Houston over Kansas, which I'm glad we got Matt around to that, because that would have been
my hot defense take. I thought it was Iowa State, which I felt good about, but no, it was Houston. Oh, okay.
I think
you had a good
Houston
board bet there.
overall.
Houston was more overall. Yes, more overall.
Like, they're not going to fall out of the top 10, but I don't totally see it. I mean, they were awesome. They brought 4 starters back. Matt was worried about point guard play. Uzan was incredible, and especially as the season went on, he got a lot better. Kai, it's funny. It's like we think about they should have won the national title game. They were up, but they also had a 2% chance to win the semifinal against Duke in the final 90 seconds or final 2 minutes. So it was just a wild Final Four. And Kai, you and I were watching that in person while Matt twiddled his thumbs at home.
Indeed, we did. And Matthew, point guard play was your main worry. Uzan was the prototypical post-hype sleeper, some guy that we thought would be amazing at OU in his second year, ended up being incredible last year, and he's back this season.
Yeah, they got him away from JV McCollum. That was my preseason take. McCollum had the ball too much at Oklahoma, and now it was really Uzan's team.
I mean, last year was maybe Sampson's best year coaching. I mean, there's a lot of good years to choose from, the last 5. But yeah, I mean, the fact that I thought you just take away a guy like Shed, who was such a heart and soul dude, I think that just sort of points to what a great coach Sampson is to find Uzan, develop him, groom him, integrate him. And he was better than like anyone thought. Like, no one thought he'd be that good. And they needed him to be that good. That's what was so crazy. It's like, even if he was just very good, I think they could have had a little more turbulence, not looked as infallible as they did. Basically the best team in the country for the last 5 minutes of the season. Sampson got a big fat contract this offseason, making $6 million a year, basically. Your program's in good shape. I don't know what else to say. Like, it's just sort of like good for Houston.
$6 million.
When baby Sampson takes over in 3-4 years, whatever
that's Xavier Lee money.
Yeah.
Yes, Matt, they're going to be great.
They did not lose a road game last year. They went 19-1 in the Big 12. They won 31 of 32 games at one point, and the only loss was in overtime. They three of their losses were in overtime, three of their five, and then one they had basically one
Samson's
against
talked
Florida.
about
Like
that.
they were incredible.
He's like playing in the American prepped us for the Big 12 because we were always everyone's biggest game on the schedule. So like he thinks like his guys generally are more as like coaching staff and players. He thinks they're like, and obviously their style is like the all the quintessential travels on the road style, right?
Yeah,
Rebound, defend.
super high floor. Like Kai and Matt said, state of the program is great. Yes, it is. I mean, is this team going to fall out of the top 10 with Calvin Sampson in charge in the
Oh,
next 5 years? We'll see what Kellen is like. Can he carry it over and extract the same intensity from the players that Calvin does? But man, it's hard not to feel anything but awesome about the team, about the program.
4 straight seasons, Kempom #2 team. That's crazy. Crazy. Number
It's
two,
nuts.
4 straight years. Okay, we waxed poetically about Houston. They deserved it. We're going Texas Tech now, who finished second. Uh, Jim wins this one in the preseason podcast. Jim said they rock, top 15 team. Apparently, I was a little lower. I had them sixth in the Big 12, top of tier 2. I think Matt was right around there as well. Uh, Texas Tech was not ranked in the top 25 AP poll to start the year. We were all pretty
Silly.
baffled about that, so
Silly Kai.
credit Weave. But Jim, I'll admit, they were much better than even I expected. Ended up being a top 10 team in Kimpom. Grant McCaslin is fantastic.
Yeah, it was pretty funny because early I like kind of gave up on the take when they lost to St. Joe's and then UCF before the turn of the new year. I was like, maybe I over-indexed on my Red Raiders. And then they totally figured out the win at Houston was kind of the real turning point for them to become like truly elite. And they probably should have gone to the Final Four. Like had Florida basically beaten, missed a couple front ends, and Florida hit some really big shots late. And hey, look, Gators going to win the national title. You never know what would happen with Texas Tech. But Matt, I love the flexibility of this team. I met McCaslin is just as good as it gets on the sideline. And as long as he is in Lubbock, I think Texas Tech should feel fantastic about their chances. And Kai, I got the Christian Anderson call out in there in the preseason, and boy was he good.
Yeah, he was
Just
great.
big time shooter. I didn't think he'd play as much as he did. He was like you couldn't take him out of the lineup down the stretch, playing 35 minutes a game. And between him and Toppin next year, Matthew, it's one of the it's got to be top 5 to 10-ish
Yeah.
point guard big man combos in the entire country.
I would say, I mean, I'd look at their, I mean, just topping at the five alone with Bam Magoy or Bam Goy.
Bam Goy.
How do you say?
Bam
Bam
Goy.
Goy. That was my point was like, why is the retention not better? Like for state of the program going forward. But I think it's the fact that they pay Toppin like $10 million. And so I think you sort of had to take a little bit of a pay cut and bring in some other guys. And those dudes who left probably weren't going to get the money they thought they should. But yeah, that's a nitpick. The program's obviously in great condition. I think when you have guys like Linder and McCaslin, like JUCO type dudes that just want to coach ball, the whole retention and program building thing, like, I think everyone says that matters, but really you guys build to find dudes and coach them for a year and just do the best you can with those guys. And like, if there's any coach who's going to thrive in that, whether you have retention or not, I think if you're a Tech fan, you'd like to see more, like more of a proof of your program being a destination, I guess. But that's everywhere. So like throw that out. And I think McCaslin's just set up to win every year. And they clearly have some oil money down there in Lubbock, which is certainly helping too.
Yeah, are we going to give a little credit, Jeff Linder? Offense goes from 27 to 5. Do you think he had a little hand in that, Matthew? You're a big Linder
I think
guy.
he did. I'm not sure where his responsibilities are on the staff, but I think he absolutely did. He's just a good coach.
He is.
Like I think all these teams sitting good at sitting head coaches to come be like specialist assistants is like that's an unfair advantage that the big boys have. That's just not fair.
It is. And we move on to Arizona. Number 3 in the Big 12. I ranked them 4 in the preseason. Got flack from people in the preseason, ranking them over Baylor. Baylor, we'll talk about in a bit, was kind of a consensus borderline top 10, borderline top 10, maybe not even borderline for some people, and Arizona kind of fell by the wayside. We were a little worried about guard depth. We said Del Orso, their Campbell transfer, was fine, and he ended up being fine. But Jim, as usual, Tommy Lloyd was a regular season juggernaut, and that's exactly what you said he would be in the preseason pod.
Yeah, really well-defined style. Like the transition, the two bigs, to just bludgeon the rim. It kind of keeps your floor high, which is something we'll talk about with Florida on the SEC pod. I think that's a nice little, not cheat code, but like teams that do that have really avoided falling off. And Arizona definitely had that. I mean, Krivas goes down and it doesn't even matter because Vasar comes in. They just have this assembly line of international bigs, churning them out. Matt, we talked about them being one guard injury away from real disaster. And lo and behold, their guards played every game. All 37 for Love,
Yep.
all 37 for Lewis, all 37 for Bradley. Well, that's how you end up having probably closer to the top end of their possible outcomes. I would say Arizona had based on injuries and that kind of luck. Del Orso was a little better than I gave him credit for. I think I was kind of mean to him on the preseason pod, so I'll hand up there. I do think he was a defensive liability, but he shot the lights out, and that's what they needed from him. And yeah, Matt, I will. I guess Kai, should I hold the thought about Arizona up next year till the reviews at the end of the pod, or do we want to discuss it?
Yes, because we do have a review related to Arizona. We can holster it, Jim.
Okay, but just quick state of the program. Like he's going to keep bringing in international talent. Not as like attacking the portal this offseason, but I trust Tommy Lloyd, the style, Matt. I don't think they're really going to go anywhere. Consistent top 25 program.
Yeah, easily. I mean, we thought this was going to be like a disaster after the MTE overtime loss to West. I think they were 5 or 3-4, and they went 4-5. They lost at home to UCLA, but then they just turned it around. I think people want to doubt Lloyd because he hasn't had tournament success, but I think the way he turned this season around with a pretty, again, I think there were some limited parts of that roster as you mentioned. Um, and then to take, I mean, I know that Duke game wasn't that close to the tournament. I know it was a 7 point loss, but like I think it was a successful season to get out of get to the Sweet 16 and prove that he doesn't have like this system that can be debunked in a one and done situation. Although they have struggled in MTEs, I love Lloyd. I'm sort of going to be a stubborn defender. I know I was going on Gil's show and tell him I think he's a good coach, and Gil disagrees with me, but no, I think it's in great shape. The question is if the international thing is going to really come on. I think Arizona's positioned to be at the forefront of that, right? You get the right guys, the ones who are older. We'll see how Illinois works out this year, but like you can prove that you can win with international guys, especially the older ones. I think that's going to be a game changer for the next 5-10 years in college hoops.
Indeed, and a team that has no problem. Sorry, Jim, go ahead.
Well, I didn't know if you were going to move on. I was going to give
I
a quick
was.
shout out to Caleb Love for ending his career on 11 for 21, hyper efficient 35 points.
Yeah.
He doesn't get blamed for Arizona's loss, which I think people were just like circling like piranhas, hoping to blame him. And
A Duke
I'm
killer.
glad he didn't go down as the villain or the scapegoat of that game.
A pretty darn good college career, Caleb Love, when it all was said and done. 5-year player. Wow. Okay, now we'll go to BYU. Hey, Ken Pom kind of right here. Ken Pom had him 21st in the preseason. All of us kind of doubted that starting off. I said that I don't buy them as a top 20 team. Matt said the ceiling was top 20. We were worried about, hey, Kevin Young being a first-year head coach. Mark Pope was a great coach. The talent on this team was undeniable, but Igor Demin was an unknown. If he's good, this team could be good, is what I pointed to in the preseason. Jim pointed out that, hey, 2 years ago under Pope, they might have been a little inflated in analytics just due to how bad they killed teams at home. So all that put together, we thought Ken Pom was a bit high in the preseason. Turns out BYU was fantastic. Ended up being fourth in the league, which is saying something, of course, in the Big 12. And heck, next year, Matt, spoiler, I think it's a top 10 team. They have money, and Kevin Young, if he's going to bring in talent like this and have offense like he did last season, I think they're going to be just fine.
I mean, Fran Fraschilla said it best on the AMA. Like, it's an NBA operation. Like, you have the president and Danny Ainge, and it basically funnels right down to this entire staff, which is a bunch of NBA dudes, and they have a staff that's I think 10 deep or whatever. It's just insane. It's a chess versus checkers operation. This does feel like I don't dislike BYU, but I don't know, you guys probably watch Yellowstone. It's like the guys that come in from out of state to develop and invest in Wyoming, and it's like a big rift between the out of state new money that no one likes and like the old, true, nature focused locals there. Like BYU is just sort of kind of that new hit on the block that just feels unpure to us college basketball junkies, but they know what they're doing. It's an entirely well funded, smart operation. I think their floor is one of the highest, frankly, in the Big 12 going forward, which is crazy to say given the programs that we have in this league. I just think their money is too good, and their resources and the smart people, a part of it is too good to
well
fail.
funded is probably an understatement, with Ryan Smith just hurling like the quote about "we will never be outbid for a player" was so funny. Like if you're willing to go to BYU, to Provo, and live into their honor code, I say in air quotes, then they're going to get the players. Obviously, Debanza, the rumor 7 million. I don't know if that's exactly the number, but that is quite a steep price. They just scooped Rob Wright from a conference rival that makes the tournament every year. Like that is hilarious to me. Yeah, Kai, they're going to be good going forward because, as Matt said, it's not just money. They have smart minds figuring things out in the basketball side, not just because two of their coaches are in the ongoing roster sheet that I publish every year, and they use it as a valuable resource. But that is certainly a part of what makes them smart coaches, for sure.
I think the one thing is defense, and it's going to be a problem next year too. 82nd last year in defense, 9th in offense. I think that's kind of just going to be their identity to a certain extent. Offense over defense.
Bugaboo. They're bugaboo.
I will say they're kind of unlucky with shooting luck, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that later on.
Their shooting luck got like ruined by the final game of the year.
Yeah,
Alabama
it came right back in their face. Yeah,
was like nobody goes 26 of 50 or 25 of 51. Yeah. I think it dropped their 3-point percentage defense like 90 spots or something that one game.
I mean, good gosh. Okay, we move on to Iowa State, number 5 in the Big 12. This was a consensus number 3 in the Big 12 for the Weave. I said they'd be a lock to be top 3 on defense. They weren't. They were actually 13th. Matthew, your one concern was rim protection for the Clones, and 124th in block rate. That losing Hassan Ward and Robert Jones turned out to be kind of a big deal. But you called Joshua Jefferson, who we got his name wrong twice in the preseason podcast, which is fantastic.
What did we say?
We said Jordan Jefferson and Justin Jefferson. So they're
like, you initially had the Vikings receiver.
Other famous Jeffersons.
Terrific.
Matt, you called him maybe the best transfer get in terms of fit of anybody in the league. Do you do you hold up that opinion after
I think I do. Season? He was he was really good, right?
Uzan was better. He's top
Uzan was
sure.
Better.
He was
Uzan
awesome.
Uzan was the best transfer of the year last year. He was the number one get last year.
JT Toppin probably.
Yeah. I'm nitpicking, but Jefferson was as good as Matt said and more. And awesome. He talked about like playing through him, and he had a 20% assist rate. I was impressed by Matt's boldness on the Jefferson call, and I think it played out.
Kai, your boy Momo was good too.
It's a good team.
You got Lipsy back. No, I think this is one of my favorite. This is the easiest program to root for. We've always loved Iowa State. We love Coach Oates, not Coach Oates, Coach Oates, as I'll mess up for the end of time. You're starting to see a little bit of like keeping up with the Joneses. Like their money is probably good, but it's probably not BYU good. It's probably not Texas Tech good or Baylor good or Kansas good. And so there is going to have to be some money ball, find a little bit of value. You can't be like the Yankees or Dodgers. You got to be like, I don't know, who's like a tier 2, like the Cardinals, Kai. Like you got money, you don't have crazy money, right? But I think Iowa State's positioned. I think that's a smart staff. I think Oates, knows what he's doing. So
some of those transfers, you're like, wait, that's where the Big 12 team's going? But like, look at Curtis Jones, how good he was. Like they found the right guys. And last year, I mean, it wasn't like a disaster year in terms of injuries, but Lipsy was almost never fully healthy. It seemed like Momcilovic, they lost 3 games without him when he broke his hand. Gilbert was like not a part of the team to end the year. And they still finished 11th in Ken Pom. And probably, I guess they didn't make the Sweet 16, but Kai, like it could have gone, if they had the health of Arizona, this team probably finishes like 7th nationally and flirts with Elite 8. And so, it goes up and down in that regard. And if you have not great injury luck and you finish 11th, you're probably in good shape as a program.
Yeah. Hey, transfer evaluation. Like, holy cow. Curtis Jones, Buffalo, Keyshawn Gilbert, UNLV.
Yeah, right.
Joshua Jefferson, St. Mary's. These guys have hit every transfer, it seems. Next year, we'll see.
Yeah, even like Brandon Chatfield from Seattle was a very useful player.
Useful. Yeah, I mean, Hassan Ward and Robert Jones, was he a transfer? I can't believe.
He was Denver.
Yeah. So, hey, they have great evaluators at Iowa State. Let's hope that staff stays intact. They'll be competitive. Number 6 is a team that was not expected to be 6th in the Big 12. It was Kansas, the number 1 team in the AP poll in the preseason. Matt did have them number 1 in the Big 12, but Jim and I bullied him into Houston at the end of the show, so he skates by. I called it the best looking starting 5 on paper in the country. We thought they had more depth. Jim, you said in theory they had more depth. That was probably a good call there. But you did say number one in the country last season was crazy compared to, say, Houston.
Yeah, I thought it was crazy, and I wish listening back, I'm like McConaughey behind the bookshelf. Like just say a
Yes.
stronger take. Like say that you don't think Kansas is that good. I was like halfway to that take and couldn't get there, couldn't quite finish the job. But yeah, it was the same kind of structure of a team that was barely top 15 in Ken Palm, even with McCullough the year before. That Dickinson, Adams, Harris just kind of limited who they could be. And Matt, we should have known that Bill Self, AJ Storr wasn't going to work out. It
Yeah, I have a
clearly
theory
did
here.
not. Yeah, it was just not a great year. I think Self is going to be so rejuvenated next year with just a brand
Yeah,
new
yes.
roster. Like I'm looking forward to seeing how it goes.
It's funny. He said that last year. I think he truly means it this year. Like I'm, Dewan Harris is an all KU guy, right? I just think moving
Yeah, and
on from
Adams is like
him,
on staff already. They love the
Adam,
guy.
right, Adams, and Dickinson. I just think moving away from the limitations that roster had, it will just be a breath of fresh air. Now, I think there's also, and this is purely speculative, the fact that they've missed on a lot of key transfers this cycle, which is shocking, like for Kansas. I wonder if there's sort of this negative recruiting going on where you look at guys like AJ Storr and Kai, our boy Timberfake, like transfers that are sort of hyped that go to Kansas have a high risk of being buried, sort of like we sometimes say freshmen did at Duke under K. Because it is such a pressure cooker environment to play in. Like there's like probably the highest pressure program you could debate in the entire country, and these guys that you can almost see the lack of confidence that they have if it's not going well. Even guys like Marco Jackson, who I know has been kind of hurt, but still like you can see the lack of confidence when you play on this big stage with these dudes. I don't know. I think the program's in good shape. Bill Self's a good coach. Lost his boy Townsend, who'd been there for 30 years, the old right hand man. I don't know. I don't feel as good about KU though as I do a lot of these other programs, but I think a little more positive upward momentum. It's Kansas. They're going to be fine, but I do feel like there is a plateauing of sorts, Kai, with just the program cachet and the mojo that they have, if that makes sense. Maybe it doesn't.
Two questions from the chat. Kai, you can answer too. Is KU on the way down from Matthew Farmer? And I
Yes.
mean, relative to winning the Big 12 every year, yes. And I like right at the top, will Kansas ever win a Big 12 title again? Will Bill Self win a Big 12 title again from Case Nicholson?
Yes.
You think so?
How many
And how
years?
long will it be
Well, how
there?
many years are you
And
be coaching, right? Like I say, 10
Yeah,
at
years.
some point, Kelvin Sampson boogeyman's going to be gone. And as good as Kellen, I
Yeah.
think will be, I think they'll at least be more vulnerable there.
Yeah.
So
It's a tough
probably
question.
yes.
You have to give me some odds because it's a really good league, but I guess I'll lean yes in the next 10 years. It's Kansas. They're going to have the resources. The problem is it's the opposite of Iowa State. I mean, they've missed on so many transfers. Like Storr, Griffin were not that good. Zeke Mayo was their best transfer last year. And though he shot well, he wasn't that great for them.
Yeah, I think he sometimes drove some of their fans nuts too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was very down on Mayo, and he was actually better than I thought. But still, even in key moments, like he wasn't
Yeah, and I know
wasn't great.
this is not a preview podcast, but gosh, like Jaden Dawson, Melvin Council, Trey White are your transfers next year. It's like as role players, these guys can be pretty good, but I don't know, man. It's a weird mix. They've been 27 and 24 ranked in KenPom last 2 years. That's a new standard for Kansas. I think they'll be better than 24 this coming year, but gosh, it's not the Kansas we've grown up with over the past.
Like no player watched
couple
KU the
decades.
last 2 years and was like, "Wow, what a cool team! I want to go play for that team." It's just like I think getting in bed with Hunter Dickinson, I legitimately tarnished the brand
hurt them.
coolness for 2 years. And I think in a year they'll probably like Peterson's going to be awesome, and I'm
Yes,
like, "Wow,
so
look at
fun.
KU, awesome
Yes.
league guard!" Like let's all go back to Kansas. But like,
But doing
for
good, going to
a
be
time,
dunking everything.
yeah.
Peterson is really, really good.
Yeah.
Really
Also, Matt, did you say Townsend? I think Townsend is still there. He's still on
No, I
staff.
think he's. Oh, sorry. He's going to be he's not like an assistant. He's like a special dude. I think they hired Kai, your boy Jock, who's what's his name?
Jock.
John
Jock,
Jock.
You mean Jacques Vaughn?
Jock Vaughn. Thank you,
Jock,
not John
yeah.
Jock.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jacques
Jock
Vaughn.
Vaughn. I think
Cornell
he's
head
taking his
coach.
place as a full-time assistant. Yeah.
Kansas point guard in the 90s. Of course, coached the NBA.
Again, another NBA guy comes to college.
Yeah.
Kansas trying to keep up with the NBA Joneses, so they're trying to get in that look, we have NBA things here too. Yeah, so
Keeping up
everyone's
with the
doing it.
Jacks. It's smart. Why not? Okay, Baylor finished 7th in the Big 12. I had them in Tier 1, number 5. Jim had number 4. Yes, many called them surefire top 10. We talked about the brain drain Jim mentioned at the beginning of the episode. We had Jerome Tang leave a couple years ago. John Jacobs took the FAU job. We called Roach and O'Meara overrated transfers in terms of people hyping them to the moon. Good transfers in a vacuum, but their impact, just based on O'Meara's winning history, he didn't do much or in terms of winning at Miami, yada yada. And also said they can't win a national title last season. Their defense just wasn't going to be good enough. That ended up being the case, Jim. This defense just wasn't good enough.
Yeah, O'Meara is a great per minute monster rebounding. He's a good finisher. You need him on the floor, but it's just never going to be an anchor of a good defense. He's a little too small. He's not hyper switchable, and that was already the concern with their staff. And having him as the anchor didn't work out. I think Edgecombe was really good, but not quite at the level maybe that we expected him to be, that we hoped he could be. He wasn't certainly in the flag vicinity. And even Robert Wright was fantastic, and he lived up to the hype and probably exceeded it. Jaden Nunn had another really good year. Roach, maybe not as good as you'd hope. Langston Love got hurt, as he always does. So, yeah, Matt, it's just Baylor. I think we said it a little on the NBA draft decisions. I think their range is a little lower now. Their high end, low end, it's not quite the same anymore, even with some really good talent. And losing Wright, getting him poached by a conference rival, and now you're going into the season with an Omaha guard and a Wyoming guard as your backcourt. It's solid, but I think it's a little bit of a new normal where we're not going to see those hyper elite Baylor teams anymore.
Yeah, no, it's totally new. I'm very there. I think that people say success begets success, but I think success also begets the poachers of. Look at how all their top assistants are now basically, elsewhere, right? I think there's just been a lot of turnover with Drew and the brain power of the coaching staff there. And I think just, again, a lot of the other Big 12 teams just have more momentum than they do right now in terms of their money and their player acquisition and their retention. I mean, man, this roster, it came together, I guess, fine, but it did feel like kind of a panicky type of offseason for Baylor, given what happened last year and then sort of the exodus that they had walking out the door. Kai, I mean, no one comes back. Literally, it's an entirely new team.
That's
zero.
crazy.
Zero players. So I think very much like Kansas. I think there's gonna be a lot more ebbs and flows of when it's your time, when the iron's high, you got to strike with all this player movement now. And Baylor and Kansas, I think, are a little bit more in they gotta regain some speed here.
Yeah, I think Yesufu's really fun. He had a monster Nike Hoop Summit game playing for the world team, kind of kept them in it. But it's pieced together. I don't know how I feel about Dan Skilling's.
Is he the freshman this year, Jim? Because every year they've been awesome. Their freshmen are always awesome. And this year they have one guy. It's got to be him. They don't have anybody else.
Yeah, I think Yesufu's going to be really, really good. And I kind of I like Ratai in a vacuum and sort of like their guards. But yeah, Kai, it doesn't feel like that team's got top 10 upside to me.
No. And that's, like you said, that might just be the new standard for Baylor, unfortunately.
You're going to make the tournament and be like a 6 seed every
year. Yeah. Boo.
Right.
Mizzou would love to have the Baylor standard currently.
Yeah.
West Virginia, number 8. We had a group of teams, 11 through 16 in the preseason, where just had a hard time ranking them. This is across the board in the country. I think everyone had a hard time ranking the bottom of the Big 12. We agreed that West Virginia was probably the top of that team, that bunch. And guess what? They exceeded it. Darian DeVries, good coach. And heck, they probably would have made the tournament if Tucker DeVries stayed healthy. He was an all-conference level player at the Big 12 level. He was fantastic, but Matt mentioned in the beginning of the podcast, Javon Small, man. He was fantastic. I'm pretty sure, Matt, your stat about Small, I'm pretty sure he was number 1 at Oklahoma State as well in terms of on-off.
I think he was on-off. You're right.
Before.
Yeah, he's just
Good.
leader. You can just an adult on the floor, plays great D. Just a good player. Just good.
Yeah, but not good enough to get to the NCAA tournament. Now West Virginia, of course, changes their head coaching position with Ross Hodge coming in from North Texas. Jim, in the preseason, though, we said defense. You particularly said defense is going to be the backbone of this team. They're number 15 in the country. It really kept them in it. Matt really hammered it home with saying how dogged they'd be defensively and a pain in the butt to play. And this West Virginia team really was. They exceeded expectations impressively because of their toughness and their defense.
Yeah, Harris was a really good on-ball defender. We nailed it with Okani. Like that guy is a monster defender. I compared him
Yes.
to Thibault. He's not quite as impactful with like blocks and steals as
Yeah.
Thibault was, but he can guard every position and needed him on the floor constantly. But God, did they suck offensively. It was like Javon Small pull up, or if Javon Small gets
Yeah.
doubled, he'll throw it to somebody who will probably brick a three. They just had much higher upside when Tucker was there. I mean, he shot 47%, 26 threes made in 8 games. Like with him on the floor, they actually had a chance to ascend even higher. And obviously we saw that in the Bahamas tournament. But yeah, Matt, just unfortunate that they made a fantastic hire with DeVries and he leaves right away. Still, good hands though. I think they made another great, like not quite
Yes.
mid-majory hire. Like Hodge, just the guy that kept things going at North Texas, even without McCaslin there, was even a part of the McCaslin success. So I feel
Mhm.
like they're in pretty good hands. Year one roster is fine, but it's going to be I think hopefully he stays there longer than DeVries, and it's going to be a solid tenure with Hodge in charge.
Yeah, tough. Like I said, tough off-season sequence for West Virginia, right? You missed the tournament, probably should have got in. Your best player gets hurt. But reason you don't get in is that, which is bullshit as is. And then the father of that guy and also him depart for Indiana, and a pretty hard to argue with that opportunity. But I think they got a really good coach in Hodge, and we'll see how long he stays there. I mean, if he does a nice job this season, I don't think he has the same like DeVries cachet. I think he actually is going to stick around for a little bit. I like him. It's just Kai, to me, it's a carbon copy of our narrative last offseason and going forward. It's like you have a gritty, just kind of lunch pail defensive type of group, and I think you're going to be a thorn in a lot of people's side in
Yeah.
this conference.
And that should be their style.
Yep.
Before we move on, thank you, Brian, in the chat. Norm Roberts, Matthew, is the coach
Norm
that
Roberts,
retired.
who's God,
Townsend's on staff. He's going to be there. He's still there.
he's there forever. You're right. Sorry,
Didn't
I'm
sound
an
right.
idiot.
I didn't have confidence to call you out, but Brian,
No,
thank you.
always
in
do.
the
I'm
chat.
usually wrong.
Well,
I'm
I
so
was like,
frickin'
no,
bad with
Townsend's still
names.
there, and he just like came right back so strong. He's like, no, they moved him. I was like, damn it,
Yeah.
okay.
Norm Roberts, old guy. Yeah. I mean, not that.
The guy if you watch KU
Yeah,
basketball, the guy next to himself every game, it's Norm Roberts.
He'll take the
That's it.
clipboard when Self was
St.
suspended.
John's coach? Did he coach St. John's?
I think you're right, actually.
Really?
Okay.
Wow. Hey, I'm not gonna guess.
2005 to 2010. All right, there we go. We're back on track.
Okay, TCU finished ninth in this league. We ranked this team in the top 40 in our initial top 50 voting.
That was my fault.
Jim was
Hand up
very
there.
high, yes.
Well, I
But
was, and then I got talked off the ledge.
we did sour on them as the summer went on, and of course we didn't change our votes. I think both of us, or at least I said, would not have this team top 50 as of the podcast date in the preseason. A lot of just huge shooting questions. The backcourt Collins-Reynolds combination, the transfers not being quite Big 12 up to snuff. But Jamie Dixon has a floor. Jamie Dixon's a fantastic coach, and you proved it, I think, by finishing ninth. That he took this team up. What are they? Outside the top 200, Jim, in offense last season. The shooting was brutal. Just weighed them down.
From everywhere. It's shooting, shot creation. Like the offense just couldn't get it going. I watched them early, like the Santa Clara game when they put up 52 points on 69 possession. And I was like, oh no, this has disaster potential. I said they could be the worst team in the Big 12 at that point. They finished 14th of 16 in KenPom, one spot ahead of Colorado.
Yeah.
So that's why I would say winning 9 games is actually pretty darn impressive. Goes to speak to Dixon's ability. They got some promising stuff out of Punch. I think he's a nice piece to build around. But Matt, they feel like they're kind of papering over issues every offseason. Like their transfer class always leaves me like, I don't know. And I get a little bit more of that sense this offseason. And you mentioned the identity crisis in the preseason pod. Like it doesn't feel the same anymore where they know who they are as this like physical maul you type of team, dominate the offensive glass,
Right.
and win defensively. Like they're just not able to get that same kind of player anymore, and that changes things and makes them a little less, a little more conventional, I guess.
In general, the older coaches, like I would put Self in this category, but like the coaches who we associate with being very good, generally because of an identity, for a few exceptions, it's hard to really sustain that year in, year out, right? I'd rather have a coach. I love Dixon, but like an Underwood, like a true year-to-year chameleon adapter type guy with how much the roster is. Now, if you're Houston, that's a different animal, right? But I do think Dixon needs to kind of find what his his niche is. I do also think that I know TCU has money, but it's pretty impressive what he's done at TCU in a pretty awesome arena of competition. I kind of think that, as someone who is always going to overachieve, but maybe not, achieve a ton with high expectations type of like a pretty narrow range of outcomes is kind of how I see TCU for the next 5 years.
But
Maybe
what's
that's
the range?
lame.
Is the range kind of the Enfield
Not
zone,
Cooley
40 to
zone, a
80?
Cooley plus zone is what I think I'd call it. Maybe. How about
What's their
that?
ceiling with Dixon? 30th?
I think they can crack top 25 again. I think they have that ceiling. I don't think they'll be a top 10 team, right? I think they peaked with the the Miles run
Yeah,
right
the
when they
team
got
that got the
healthy.
6th seed and I thought was really, really good when Miles was healthy. But yeah, that
I
team
mean, he had a
finished
great team with
25th in Ken Palm.
who was the Alex Robinson and who was the other point guard that was great. I mean, they were top 20, I
Desmond
think, for a
Bane.
little bit there too. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah, Bane's an all world dude. So
He
I don't
finished
know.
86th with Bain as a senior. And guess what they were last year?
86th.
86th.
86.
Yeah. A question in the chat: should Dixon go? No, not in my opinion.
No.
That is a
11
grass ain't greener to me.
tournament.
They were young last year. Dixon, I think he regrets going young. I think he, again, kind of an old school guy, likes to develop freshmen, bring them up, but they were young last year. And I think he sort of bit the bullet for that. And then your point guard got hurt 9 games in. It's like the worst time to lose your point guard. You're basically like a third of the way through the season. So Frankie Collins was tough.
Yeah, TCU as a program, 112 seasons, 11 tournaments. Dixon's made 4 of them in 9 seasons as head coach. He's gotten the standard higher at TCU. I think.
Like, I know the bar's higher now because they have
more.
more money, so they probably could
the
do
Big
better if
12
they've got a
instead
new
of the
coach,
WAC,
but still,
yeah.
he's a good coach.
Yeah, I get the perspective of, oh well, now everyone has money. It's a new standard. No, it's still the program. It still matters.
How to go the last school that forced Jamie Dixon out?
Yeah,
Ask Pittsburgh how that went.
yeah, no kidding. Okay, Kansas State, number 10. We had him a little bit higher in the preseason because Jerome Tang came on the Discord and did an AMA, and he got me hyped about this team, and they just weren't very fun, not very good. David Castillo was the guy that Jim and I were very high on in the preseason. He looked fantastic on tape. He was horrible. And whether that was playing behind Doug McDaniel or Tang not developing him or him just not being ready for the Big 12, it didn't do much. Max Jones was fine. Coleman Hawkins was not very good at all. Of course, he had the famous crying video, even though he's making $2 million. So, Matt, cry me a river on that one. Your boy Gassan was pretty good, but it wasn't enough. This team is kind of boring. I know they had that little run, little stretch run where they were like pretty good all of a sudden, but man, I don't know what to think about Tang and Kansas State going forward.
It was a cute little run they had. I just think it was very much an all-star team. I think every year we're going to have a few of these where you just have, throw a lot of money around, a lot of hype. Just doesn't really work for whatever reason. And I think Coleman Hawkins and then also great Osabor at Washington are two prime examples of like you're giving 22-year-old kids life-changing money way above and beyond what their peers are making with no like structure of authority like you have in the NBA. That's not a good situation. I just don't think it's a good situation. So we'll see. I'm not going to give up on Tang all the way yet. I know people are sort of selling their Tang stock. And honestly, I don't know if I love his roster next year either, but I still think there's some good strategy in there. I just think, there's going to be more volatility year to year, right? You're going to have some years where it hits, some years it doesn't. I still think this year or next year could be a year where it kind of hits, maybe like the Noel and Key Johnson 2 years ago, Jim.
That was a unicorn, man.
Yeah, getting
maybe
Keontae Johnson
for
like off the bargain rack, a SEC Player of the Year caliber guy because he had heart issues and nobody else wanted to take the medical risk. Yeah, that feels like a rogue type season. And we talk about brain drain. Malachi leaving as like the defensive coordinator, I think, is a problem. And I know they scooped a mid-major head coach in Matthew Driscoll, who's got ties to Tang, having worked at Baylor, but I don't know that he's a defensive help at all. North Florida is one of the worst defensive programs in the entire country year after year after year with that weird zone he played and tried to go more man last year, did not work at all. So maybe he modernizes the offense. I'm not sure they have the personnel to really modernize it and fire away from three. But Haggerty's going to be the ultimate floor raiser. And like your offense can't be bad. So I feel like they're going to be right around 50th next season. And whether that's good enough for what they're paying, that's debatable to me. And they're trying to get more into the international market for players right now, trying to join that fad. I'm hesitant, Kai. If you told me that Jerome Tang is not the head coach on June 6th, 2027, I would probably believe it.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the first year was like, whoa, dang, okay. But maybe it was the more evidence you get for these new head coaches, it's like, okay, the last 2 years you're 70th and 65th, and there are circumstances, sure, you can't control, but we'll see what this year brings. If it's another 65 to 70, below 500, Big 12, no tournament, I think K-State's going to get a little bit antsy. Fandom, the administration, etc. But Tang, give you a shot next year. Program, decent shape right now, I think. Utah, number 11. I picked them last. I had to choose one team to pick last. I did say they could easily finish 11 or 12. Craig Smith was fantastic, man. I know that's like people can't comprehend that, oh, he did a really good job at Utah. Okay, a good job at Utah, but he did. Deck was stacked against him in the Pac-12, in the Big 12. I thought he was fine. They just fired him before the season ended. I think that might have been a mistake. We'll see. Hey, maybe Alex Jensen comes in and he pulls a Kevin Young. Unlikely with what he has right now, Matt, on this roster. It doesn't look great. But the program isn't going to get any better if they don't have resources.
Right. They're trying to do the BYU thing. I think it's sort of it's tough. I just think they're a little bit a step behind and a few dollars short of BYU's.
Yeah, they don't have Ryan
situation.
Smith bankrolling things.
But it's very clear they're trying to do the same model. Like it's almost like you hire the NBA guy, Jensen. They're trying to set it up in a very similar way. They've talked about that. We'll see. Give it a couple years. I think this comes down to most schools have to sort of choose where they put their dollars. And I think this is more of a football operation than a basketball operation. So I think that's just going to be always a somewhat limiting factor to Utah hoop.
Yeah, I don't like the roster for next year at all.
Oh.
I think Jensen's done, if he was supposed to be an infusion of money and donor support, and that's what he did with it, I'm pretty concerned. A couple mid-major guards, inefficient scorers, and then some upside guys, I guess, from Power Conference with Ja'Kai Howard and Elijah Moore, but I'm not encouraged, and it just doesn't, like Matt said, it doesn't seem like they've got the resources, and I know Craig Smith's not employed yet because, hey, he's collecting checks, and that's what he should do when you get fired, but somebody's going to end up profiting and benefiting from their decision to let him go.
Yeah, I think in terms of roster, I think he did a better job last couple of years. And people were like, okay, but the coaches, one of their jobs is to get a good roster. Well, you bring in Alex Jensen, and this roster is as bad or worse than Craig Smith's rosters at Utah. So far, not so good. We'll see. Maybe he does a great job too. But yeah, Utah, high floor, I guess, last year, finished 11th in the league. I'd say decent success in the Big 12, honestly, considering.
Yeah, them in Colorado kind of got like, all right, they're going to win like
Yeah.
3 games in elevation that they probably shouldn't. And that's exactly what Colorado
Yep.
did. They won 3 total games.
Yep.
But yeah, I think those got a little bit inherent built-in advantage with the home court.
Oklahoma State finished 12th. I chose them 15th. We waxed poetically about Steve Lutz, but the roster we had major questions about last season. Devo Davis coming in, freaking horrible. Arturo Dean, I said could be a disaster, even though Matt said he kind of liked Dean. Dean was terrible. They finished 97th in KenPom. They were the one that was flirting with the top 100. But heck, they were competitive at least. Jim, you were worried that them playing at the speed they played was bad news, considering the roster was so bad. And yeah, it worked out the way you expected.
I'm a little surprised. Like they were better defensively than I thought. Maybe it's because Arturo Dean just picks pockets like crazy, but he is awful offensively and was awful offensively. They were weird. I kind of would talk myself into them after one game, and then they'd get blown out the next. Kind of up and down, zigzagged a little bit. We found out that Steve Lutz does not win every conference tournament he coaches in. That's the first time. He's now 3 for 4. The resources seem a little questionable there as well, which surprises me. I mean, when prime Oklahoma State was going and Gallagher Ibo was hype, it was such a fun program, but it doesn't seem like they've got that right now. And which is Matt, they've got friggin' billionaire backing them, T. Boone Pickens,
Yep.
but you mentioned football with Utah. I think he is very focused on football and is not writing blank checks to the basketball program, and that is clearly hurting and impacting their ability to compete.
Yeah, I don't know. I hate a lot. This team was not good last year. They couldn't shoot. The offense was absolutely. I think this team was worse offensively than West Virginia, honestly, just from an eye test perspective. I don't know what the numbers say. I think that disagree.
Oh, yeah.
But
they weren't worse than TCU.
But they were not TCU. Thank you for taking the mantle there. I like Lutz. Maybe you get a a year two post type sleeper season coming up. I like him as a coach. Programs in fine hands. But man, last year was such a. I almost thought it was a stubborn. It showed a little bit of stubbornness to Lutz, where I think the skill and shooting do matter a little bit. You can't just out havoc and pressure your way through a Big 12 gauntlet like you could in the Southland. Like it's a little different. So you need to evolve. I think there's some evolution on the horizon for Lutz, who I still think is a good coach. Just he's going to have to learn.
Kai, if Johnny Dawkins went out and got Anthony Roy and Kanye Clary, I think
perfect.
we would like laugh him out of the room. And now
Yes.
Steve Lutz does it, and I'm like, can I talk myself into this? So that's my respect to Lutz.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. Man, Devo Davis is such a bad get. I'm glad we tore that apart. What are you doing?
I can't believe how bad he was. He was even worse than I expected.
I mean, just ignore red flags left and right. Anthony Roy, we'll see. We'll see. I didn't love the Gottfried comments about him, but we'll see. Okay, Cincinnati.
Gottlieb.
Gottlieb, not Gottfried. Gottlieb. Yeah. Cincinnati. Yikes. This was our biggest miss by far in the preseason. They fell to 13th in the Big 12. Yes, Jim?
I just saw this, and I want to tip my cap to Devo Davis for being one of the rare players who, in a 5-year career of starting and playing big minutes every year, his offensive rating went down every single year.
That is
good job, Devo.
Hard to do.
Good
hard
job.
to do. Led the SEC in minutes in 2023. Incredible. Cincinnati, guys. Whiff. We were pretty convinced it was a surefire tournament team. Top 7 in this league. Jim, you did say top 20 feels a little strong, so kudos to you on that one, but expected to be a tournament team for sure. Yeah, Matt, closer to tier 1 than tier 2. The defensive ceiling is so high. And the defense was pretty good. It was top 25 nationally. It was 8th in the Big 12, but a lot of good teams in the Big 12. The offense, though, was just brutal. It was 100th overall. The hot shooting kind of started the year against some bad teams, really tapered off. And Wes Miller, it's kind of the same thing. It's like, hey, bad offense, good defense. Jim, we love their team. They had so much coming back last year, and they just failed. They failed.
Yeah, there wasn't as much internal development as we hoped. The offense was just painful. Watching it, like, it was a lot of my turn, your turn stuff with Jizzle and Day and Lukosius. And as good as Dylan Mitchell is defensively, he certainly hurt them offensively. One of the worst free throw shooters you'll ever see. It was tough. I think Wes Miller needs to completely revamp and restructure the offense. Like, that was one I think he should have found somebody, a new staffer, to just come in and run the offense, like completely cede control of it. Because you go back to Greensboro, and his offense was like transition only. Like it was not good in the half court. And we're seeing that show up against Big 12 defenses where there's a lot of really good ones, as we've gone through on this pod. And that's going to keep me concerned, Matt, going forward. I wish I'd been even more bearish last year, and looking at next year. I think people are kind of looking at the roster and getting excited, and there's some good per minute production on there, but I think they're still going to be a little limited by shooting and just the lack of creativity offensively.
Matt's on mute.
Matt, you're muted?
No, I am not. I don't know what to think of the backcourt. It's like, oh, I see Jizzle James and Day Thomas there again. Like, I don't know if that excites me or worries me. The Miller clearly has some stubborn loyalty to his guys, and I think it probably came at the expense of their offense last year. But like, this is what Miller was like at UNC Greensboro. I remember his best teams were with Isaiah Miller, who was like an all defensive destroyer, but offensively they were never anything special other than just like getting offensive rebound. I mean, so I think this is somewhat what you signed up for as a Cincinnati fan with Miller, who I think, again, is a very good coach, but there is sort of, limits or holes in his overall schematic portfolio. To Jim's point, go find a guy who can fill that gap, right? Find an offensive guru, right? Find
like Shaka Smart getting Nevada Smith.
Exactly.
Like Greg Gard getting Kirk Penny. Like,
Kirk Penny, right?
Like that. Yeah.
That's what Miller needs to do. I'm not saying he can't learn that. I think he's a little bit too hands-on himself. I worry he can't actually relinquish that control. I don't know. Just a sense.
How many more years does Miller get? 4 years? He's done nothing. Top 50-ish last 3 years. But
dude, if they don't make the tournament, 5 straight years at Cincinnati without the tournament, I could see them moving on.
Yeah, I agree. Since Mick Cronin has that bar pretty damn high, so that's a good point.
And Bob Huggins. And yeah. It was a really good program. It still is. Still is a good program. But got to show me something, Wes. Okay, UCF finished 14th. We all picked them down here. Matt said they were emphatically the worst team last year. They would finish last. because they didn't have the defense to fall back on. It was your point, Matt, which is a good point. Their defense was bad. Uh, the main question we had was the roster construction. It was one of the weirdest in the country last year. He's trying to outdo himself this next season, Johnny Dawkins. It's weird again, but there are just so many question marks. I'd say it ended up being okay. Keyshawn Hall ended up being an all-conference player. Darius Johnson, and he was that rock, that returning rock. Next year they have nobody returning, so it's going to be just strange. And Matt, yeah, pretty much. It was a weird team. They had a nice little run in the postseason and whatever tournament they played in. I don't know if this even the NIT. They just fell short of what the talent said it should have been. The fit was just not there.
No, I think it was a fun experiment for Dawkins, who's like, hey, we're going to make this somewhat of a destination. Like, look how fast we play. Look, you can shoot all these threes, and we're going to get up and run. We're not going to be the old boring UCF team.
Totally
like, it was very much
yeah.
I don't think we belong in the Big 12 from a basketball perspective, which they don't. This team in the Big 12 it's just stupid. It's a football decision, clearly. So they got some fun talent. They had some moments. Like, I kind of give Dawkins credit. He's sort of this program has every reason to fall into like the cellar dweller punching bag portion of this conference, but he kept it out of that region, and I think frankly that's where success lies for this team. As you know, probably sad as it is for UCF basketball fan, at least you're in a big conference. You know, maybe you get hot in the non-con, you win enough in league, and you can kind of squeeze your way into the tournament. But you'll never compete at the middle top run in this league, and I like that Dawkins is, I don't know, trying mad scientist shit out of nowhere. We're like, all right, look, we're fun to play for. Come check us out down in Orlando.
Yeah, I love that he tried something different offensively and got a little creative with it. Kai, first of all, respect the crown.
Crown.
The
That's what it was.
that they were in. Yeah, yeah.
And they were missing a bunch of guys.
God.
They were missing
every
a bunch of guys,
team
right?
was like half their roster left if they were like going to transfer. They were in the portal. It's such a weirdly timed tournament, but they got some wins out of it. Yeah, it's you got to be creative with where they're at and the fact that they are basically in the wrong conference geographically and monetarily. But as Matt said, it's probably going to be capped, and he's trying to find these like undervalued pieces because of potential character concerns, University of Character Flaws or University of Criminal Felons. People, that's the UCF joke that people are making.
Pretty good.
I don't think it's going to work long term, but you got to try it. And I feel like he's probably going to end up on his way out soon with only one tournament there and now Big 12 pressure. But I'm not sure whoever they bring in can suddenly revitalize it. It's a ginormous school, but I don't think that means they have like a ton of money to play with. So, Kai, I feel like they're going to be in this rut of if they finish 50th in Ken Palm, it's a good year.
I agree. Next year, maybe not top 100. I'll start the bidding at 100 for UCF.
Yeah, especially because it seems like BJ Freeman's not going to be on campus. And,
oh, really?
I don't know.
Oh.
Yeah, that's kind of the speculation. And Cham was really good. The freshman
he was
that,
really
like,
good.
Reclassed.
It was awesome.
And I don't think they're going to have that kind of rock unless John Bull suddenly develops out of nowhere.
Hey, Cincinnati, you got him. He's going to be good.
I think Cham is really good.
I think you would hire the assistant that got him to get. Like, I hate when you hire the assistants to get a player. It's just like, man, it's such an investment. A guy that'll be there for like 1 year, but he is going to be really good. No question. Yeah.
Arizona State. You finished below UCF. Congratulations, Bobby Hurley. Picked him 12th in the preseason. Jim picked him 15th, though. So, Jim, right on the nose. Good job. Hurley, man, he just doesn't. Speaking of roster fit, this one wasn't a good roster fit as well.
Speaking of BJ Freeman getting kicked off for leaving team.
We said the Mason Freeman ball sharing is weird. Jihad, not a Big 12 player. Hurley, I said, just doesn't think about fit when he makes a roster. And that kind of bore out last season. Arizona State just shouldn't be this bad, Jim, with the talent they bring in. Heck, they have Quaintance, I know he got hurt, and Sannon, two very, very high recruits, and we still didn't have confidence that this team would finish outside the bottom 5 in the Big 12. And they didn't. It's just not a good program under Hurley.
It wasn't like they were setting the world on fire when Quaintance got hurt and then it wrecked their season like that. They were already struggling mightily. And yeah, the fit is strange. Last year, the big uproar, or not uproar, but like the murmurs, oh, they've got NIL now. Like they were able to pay Quaintance, who is basically just like highest bidder. They get him on campus. They get Sannon, swipe him from rival Arizona. all right, there's money here, and come up way short, 15th out of 16. I didn't listen to the whole thing, but he did like an interview recently, Bobby Hurley, where he sounds like he knows this is the final year. It's like, all right, let's go out there and see what we can do. I feel like that's probably the case, Matthew. I am interested to see this program with a new man in charge, just revitalize it a little bit. Because yeah, Hurley's never got into the tournament field of 64, despite four
Yeah.
times or
And
three times making the first four.
one
So
top 50 finish also in Kempom in 10 years.
and it was 49th. So don't get too excited about that. I mean, it's not like Herb Sendek was incredible before, but hey,
Right.
Yeah, tough place
39th,
to win.
15th with James Harden. I don't know.
Is
Now
it
that
now?
they're in
I
the
don't
Big
know.
12, if they actually get infusion of money with a new guy in charge, another huge school like UCF in a big metropolitan area, but
Yeah.
it's kind of like a sideshow.
I feel like a sideshow. Like just no one cares, right? I mean, Arizona State, like no one cares about sport. I mean, like football is. I mean, especially now with what what's his face is done on the football side. I think both part. This is a good departure for both sides. If in fact this ends up being Hurley's last year, I think Hurley has been wanting a change of scenery for a while, and I think if
Does he?
Arizona State just see what else happens is your next hire. I think just it's time for a page turn, no question.
Feels like Hurley wants to be there because, like, he's probably surprised he gets rehired every single season. I would be.
I know, but haven't we
Like
heard that he's been
4
looking at some parachute moves the last couple of off seasons? I think he's sort of over
Yeah, he
the.
got
I mean, he's like an
speculated for
East Coast
DePaul.
guy.
Paul
remember?
Whisper. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Coach against his brother in the Big East. I think he wants to come back east or coach in like a place that really gives a shit about basketball.
Yeah,
He wants
would.
back to a grittier location. I think he's tired of like appeasing his wife who wants to lay out by the pool and the beautiful Tempe weather. I think he wants to get back to his
He
old
would not
gritty
shock
ways.
me if he did the Archie Miller, Frank Martin, go take an A10 job and try to grind
I
back
agree.
out that way.
Yep,
Man.
agree.
We'll see. Maybe he'll be on the field of 68.
How about hey? How about Jim? How about Rhodey? Archie gets canned after a bad year this year, and then Bobby comes in and replaces the second Hurley in a decade.
Yeah,
Up
go
in
for it. Why not? I
Kingston.
mean, give it a shot. I'm sure Rhodey fans would be pumped about that. And then yeah, UMass isn't even in the A10 anymore, so that's not an option. I can't believe they're in the
Joke.
MAC. That's disgusting.
Uh, Colorado, last place team, had him 14th, but we all said that it didn't look good on paper, man. Tad Boyle, we said had a high floor. Heck, I would say he did have a high floor. Top 90 with this roster, not bad. The guys, Malone and Baskin, the non-D1 guys coming in, solid, but not nearly as good as we were kind of hoping. We all had questions about their backcourt. Jim, you said this roster screams NIL poverty, and you said they'd pick off some teams at home. They did, and
Three.
it just wasn't. It wasn't a good year for Colorado, but it was kind of what we expected. Low ceiling, high floor. And I don't have a lot of hope for the future, unfortunately, at least yet.
Yeah, I guess a high. I'm saying high floor in air quotes because like I don't think
Air
they're gonna
quotes.
be like 200th, but
Yes.
next year I think the roster is worse, despite Matt's boy Hargress lining up in the backcourt.
How dare you?
So it's they're going young, and you can't go young in the Big 12 right now.
Bad roster.
That's
Yeesh.
yeah, nerve-wracking. I said they got the altitude advantage, which I think helps and keeps the floor a little bit higher. But as good as Tad is, and I think generally he is a very good coach, they just don't have access to talent, and they're not going to have access to talent much in the future. So, yeah, now they've got a football coach that demands some attention and some
Yeah,
money
right.
too. So that probably hurts them.
Again, this is speaking of sideshows. I mean, no one cares. I mean, it's just sorry, it's been overshadowed by the biggest story in college football, a sport that's more popular than our beloved sport, and it's in Boulder. Like Barrington Hargress is my guy. He averaged 20 a game at UC Riverside. He might average more than that at Colorado because he might have to. That's just kind of an
Shoot a
interesting
lot.
storyline I'm going to track with this team. Yeah, this is the bleakest outlook of any program the Big 12 basketball is. I feel pretty confident in saying that.
Their biggest basketball event last year is when Dion came to a game, or like when he would show
Right.
up, it would be like, oh, the crowd's going nuts. Coach Prime's in the house. It was never about the basketball.
I love their stadium, how they have the suspended hoops, like one of only a few in the country that have
It's like
the
them and
Duke has it.
Yep.
Yeah, you from the rafters. It's kind of cool. I've always respected that.
Colorado's a program. Mentioned TCU. 16 NCAA tournaments in 122 years. Tad has 6 of them in 14, 15 seasons and would have 7 with COVID. So I think he's done a pretty good job program-wise at
Derek
this
White,
school.
McKinley,
Yeah. Yeah.
McKinley Wright,
Hey, had this team
Yeah.
top 10 in 2021 in KenPom. That's
George King.
You'll never
Who
see
else?
that again. You'll never see that again. On that
Tyler
team.
Bay, Evan Batty. Man, there've been good
Yeah, I was
players.
gonna say
Batty,
Batty,
Batty.
your boy, Dancing
Bunnies
Bear.
and Braun, baby.
Yeah, Bunnies and Braun.
Yeah, those years are over.
As Jim, so that wraps it up. As Jim said at the beginning here, so we all thought 9 teams was going to be the line for the tournament. The SEC, being as good as it was, clearly tanked that a little bit. The league got 7. Maybe should have been 8 with West Virginia. Final thoughts, fellas, on the Big 12 before we hit a couple reviews.
It's probably gonna. I don't think it's gonna stay or get up by the SEC's level again next year. I think the
Nope.
Big Ten might even be the best
Yep.
conference in the country next year.
Yep.
It feels like a haves and have-nots league, which is surprising for
Yeah,
a power conference. But some of these schools care a lot more about basketball, Kansas, Arizona, and some care a lot more about football. And I think that's going to be a pretty clear divide, Matt. Even if we go to like revenue sharing or whatever, like football is going to get the majority of the money.
that's the best take. SEC is football driven, but they have so much damn money that it doesn't matter, and people are so rabid, so it doesn't really affect their basketball. Their basketball is probably lifted by that rising tide. I think the Big Ten is very much basketball centric, right? And football probably plays second fiddle, but Big 12 is very split, and I think it's very much program to program. That's why I think you're starting to see, as you were saying, Jim, the split, the fissure of the haves and the
Stratification,
haves.
good. I like that, Matt. That was good.
Thank you.
You're going for it.
Yes, I couldn't say it better myself, so we'll leave it there. Reviews, we have 3, 2 via email. Appreciate that. Eric in the email. Summary, he's a high school coach, and he said older people that he deals with around the game says that high school has been significantly worse, the game itself, despite the players being as skilled as ever. He says, I know it's a broad question, but just wanted to hear your take on the high school game itself. I can't really speak to high school game in general, Jim, but I think that's probably a load of bull crap saying the game is worse these days. Maybe you see a lot more like AAU individual crap that needs to probably not permeate into normal high school ball, but heck, the players are better than ever.
Yeah, I think players are better than ever for sure. Maybe this is a little bit too of I think I have the same issue watching the NBA of like, it's just shooting contest now. We're leaning too far into that. I still want them to take away corner threes and force basketball to be a little bit more, try to get to the basket. It is called basketball after all. But I don't watch a ton of high school hoops, so I don't want to speak too out of turn on this, Matthew. But I would agree that the players are as good or better than ever.
I agree. The skills, I mean, I think you see it. The NBA, you start to see it. I totally agree. I just think it's the emphasis on offensive skill is crazy. There's just not, people aren't pigeonholed into what they can and can't do based on their position. Everyone just can do everything now.
Harrison via email. I give your show a Matt Painter 3-star recruit that Purdue was the only high major offer for. Great. That's a compliment. That's a 5-star, of course.
I believe that was Braden Smith. Nobody thought he was good. Yeah.
Yes. He has an idea for a summer league, basically, for college basketball, for the NBA, for players to showcase themselves. Little NBA pre-entry internship contract, so to speak, for players across all teams, for pre-entry players, for everybody. He likens it to an accounting major getting a summer internship with EY. Shouldn't basketball players who are good enough to be invited by a team get to build connections, go to Vegas, and show their stuff before they graduate college? And I think it's a fantastic idea. I would totally be on board with this. Why not? The amateurism is a total myth these days. And I think he points out in his email as well, the NCAA cannot stop this because they get sued into oblivion.
Yeah, absolutely. This sounds fun. Kai, this is integrate them onto the teams with pros already and like actual draft picks. I'm not sure how many chances they would get because coaches would be really incentivized to play guys that are actually going to potentially be on their team. So the development, I don't know how hard they'd go on that, but maybe you set up like 4 teams that are just college teams only, and then their coach is not beholden to any NBA type of agenda. So I think that would be really fun to give those guys a chance, and it would be beneficial for the players. So sure, yeah, I love the idea.
Finally, a comment that Jim alluded to at the beginning of the show, a review about Arizona. It's a 5-star review, so we appreciate it from Ben. We must have said something about Tommy Lloyd last podcast, so I'll read the review. What are you talking about? Lloyd has been active in international recruiting. Learn the name City Gee and see that Trilly international update one more time. Braden Burries is in top 10 question mark. He is on 247 and on 3. Still of the pod, but get on the research, says Ben. Jimothy.
I'm not going to clap back angrily. What I will say is Burries was 11th on 24/7's rankings on May 12th or before the May 12th update. And that's when I put the rankings into my spreadsheet. So that's when he was, quote, not top 10. He is now 9th. Okay, fine. City Gay, yeah, I know who he is. He's like, I think a stiff breeze would blow him over. He's really high upside. He's only 17 right now. I don't think he's going to play at all next year. But he has been active in trying to find guys. And in the week since we did last week's pod, they got Ivan Karchenkov, who probably will play, maybe start. He's going to be a key piece for them. He was playing at one of the highest levels in Europe. So, yeah, obviously he's still active. He just didn't have a guy that I thought was going to be a contributor. Yeah. He's kind of like good. Pelle Larsson Jr. I mean, he's like, I don't think he's going to be that good right away. But, I sort of concede this, but I think the semantics on the top 10 thing was frustrating for me. And Karchenkov has certainly changed the international outlook, and having him on the roster is big time.
Fair. Okay, that does it. Thank you for joining us on the 3-Man Weave College Basketball Podcast. We're back next week with an SEC episode, our final conference look-back episode of the offseason. We'll get into some transfer stuff after that, and then it's preview season on the Discord. We're very excited about that coming up. The offseason is well underway. See you next time. Join us next week, probably 7 a.m. Central, probably on Friday. We'll let you